Lonely Monk Productions. I don't know if y'all have heard the track Pedestal by Hugo and Black Rock yet, but yo,
that's my Jawn! Hey yo, displace the guilt.
What's good, friends and family, neighbors near and far? Welcome to an all-new episode of the Yo, That's My Jawn podcast. The podcast, website, brand, movement, way of life dedicated to the embrace and championing of your passions. I am your host, Nate Runkle, a.k.a. Jawn Solo, a.k.a. Jawn Penn, a.k.a. Dr. Johnny Fever. Rest in peace to the great Howard Hessman, a.k.a. Nate 3.0, back at it again with yet another episode of the podcast. As always, I hope this podcast finds you all in good health and in good spirits. Coming up shortly, I talked to Eric Fawcett, Brent Paschke, and Christian Twigg of the band Spymob. I was super excited to have this conversation with them, and I am equally excited to be able to share it with you guys today. That's coming up in a minute. Well, what's up? Well, I'm just trying to get caught up over here on my end before my beautiful girlfriend Katie and I take a much-needed vacation. And that trip won't interfere with the release schedule of the show, but between this week's episode and the one in 2 weeks, I will finally be venturing south for a Disney World excursion. But more so and more specifically, I am finally going to get to fly inside the Millennium fucking Falcon. And I am stoked. Those who know me know without saying that Star Wars has been a lifelong Jawn for yours truly, and I have been drooling for the chance to get down to Orlando and check out Galaxy's Edge. And now it's going to happen. I can't freaking wait. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We got an episode to do here, and it's a very special one for me. You know, when I started this Yo, That's My Jawn endeavor, pre-podcast, pre-pandemic, the idea was to have a website where I could just bring attention to the things I love. And I sat down and I created a whole plethora of categories that I wanted to tackle. You know, things like Game Respect Game, where I examine songs that I may not like and I may never want to hear again, but respect as beautiful pieces of songwriting. You know, as an example, I believe the first entry was going to be A Long December by the Counting Crows. I am never asking to hear that song ever in my life. But should it come on the radio, you can bet that I am going to na 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 na, yeah, right along with it. And I respect that. Or, you know, I had another section called I Made You a Mixtape, where I shared mixes and playlists that I threw together. And as a matter of fact, that one actually exists. And you can find it on the website right now if you visit www.yothat'smyjawn.com. But of course, you knew this. You know, and one of the sections I really wanted to roll out was a piece called Should Have Been Contenders. This was a section where I wanted to talk about bands or albums or songs that to me should have been way bigger than they ever were. You could even say that this was probably the birth of the Jawntlet question, name an unappreciated Jawn. You know, putting this together just now, I went to look at my original notes from the creation of the website, and there were 5 things listed on there, and one of them, one of the big ones, was the band Spymob. I have always respected them as brilliant musicians and always felt that they should have been a household name. Their album Sitting Around Keeping Score, as I tell them in our conversation today, it lived in my CD player. It is, to me, a perfect album full of pure pop perfection. It's so tight and so pristine, and any chance I have ever had to bring them up in a conversation about music, I would do so on autopilot. So I saw that they had a Facebook page, and I just sent them a message and asked if they would have any interest in coming on the podcast and chatting with me. You know, I thought nothing of it, but almost immediately I heard back from them, and we set this up. I am still blown away that I got the opportunity to talk to these dudes. This is literally the dream I had for Yo, That's My Jawn come to life. It's me talking to the people who have created art that has moved me, and me being able to shine a spotlight on an act that I believe deserves their flowers. I am so happy to share this conversation with you today. Well, then why don't you do that, Nate? Sheesh, okay. My guests today made a name for themselves in the Minneapolis music scene, crafting and perfecting their infectious grooves and tight jazzy pop sensibilities. After being dropped by Epic Records, the band found themselves with their masters and no home. But an unlikely fan was starting his own label and wanted to bring them on board. That fan was Pharrell Williams, and that partnership led to my guests being invited to lay the live band backing tracks for the album In Search Of from the Neptune's NERD project. A relationship that took them around the world and saw them working with acts like Khalees, Snoop Dogg, Mike Doty, and others. Their album, Sitting Around Keeping Score, has found its way back into their ownership and has been remastered and re-released with 3 songs from the original sessions added back on. It can be found on all of the streaming services. Folks, it is my unbelievable honor to welcome to the show Eric Fawcett, Brent Paschke, and Christian Twigg of the band Spymob. Ladies and gentlemen, I am joined today by the great Christian Twigg, the great Eric Fawcett of the great Spymob. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome these guys onto Yo, That's My Jawn. So I have been an enormous fan of Spymob ever since, I said this in the message I sent to you, but ever since the very first time I caught you guys, and it wasn't at the Sprite Liquid Mix Tour. What I first heard, and it wasn't live or anything, but was that, what was it, like MTV You Hear It First or something like that, that they did. It was like you guys, I think they did one of My Morning Jacket. It was essentially like they did a preview of a lot of bands who would come to be my favorite bands of all time, and you guys were one of them. So when I heard that you guys were backing NERD at the Sprite Liquid Mix Tour, I went, and we were just kind of talking about it pre-roll, but you guys opened up that show. So the fact that you guys are here on my show is like blowing me away, because I've been an enormous fan since for early. So thank you for doing this.
Well, thank you for your early support, Nathan.
And I was looking for it. It must be in storage because I don't have any of my physical media anymore, but I still have the Sitting Around Keeping Score flat promo disc that came in that little cardboard fold out, and I was going to bring it out.
Oh yeah.
I think I have a few in my basement. I can make sure you get set up with one.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, that was that I got so much play out of that, and I played it for so many of my friends. As a matter of fact, my friend Randy, who was the very first guest on this podcast, wanted me to tell you guys that 2040 is his Jawn. Just borrowing a word from the show. But tell everybody a little bit about yourself. We'll go one. Christian, tell everybody where you grew up.
I grew up in a suburb of St. Paul in Minnesota. And so I actually got connected with the Spymob guys because I went to music school with Brent Paschke, the guitar player of Spymob. So we got together and just on some different capacities in music and whatever. And then I'll let Eric tell the Spymob story, the early Spymob story. But so when some stuff went down with Spymob, Brent gave me a call and just told me that there was a spot opening for a bass player for Spymob. So I, like you, Nathan, was a big fan. So I was excited at the opportunity. That's and awesome. So, yeah, we got together and jammed, and and then it was history.
Eric, how about yourself? Where are you from?
I'm from Ames, Iowa. It's a wonderful, wonderful place, and right in smack dab in the middle of Iowa, and grew up with a bunch of older siblings and was surrounded by their music, and had a band from an early age, and decided when I went to college that music probably wasn't a responsible career. So decided I was going to be a professor in the history of science, and had a really fun band in college, but it was just a hobby because taking it seriously wasn't responsible. I wanted to one day have a family, and being a musician would certainly not be a responsible course of action. But I was on my way to Madison, Wisconsin to start grad school when John Osby, lead singer and songwriter of Spymob, whom I went to college with, played in a fun band with, played some songs for me over the phone and said, "Hey, do you want to start a band?" And I said, "With you, yes." So literally never made it to Madison, turned my car around, made some money in Ames, Iowa for a month, drove up to Minneapolis where John met me from California, and we started Spymob, and that was 1993. And by 1997, it took us 4 years to create a first full-length album. We were very proud of it and sold dozens of copies. That was rough. We had higher hopes for it. We still loved this record. And then John started writing these really incredible tight pop songs that seemed like they might gel well with what was happening in the world, and got ourselves some really wonderful representatives in the music industry and landed a deal with Epic. And this is going far beyond the scope, Nathan, of where you're from, Eric. But since Twigg teed up the story of how he ended the band, I wanted to get us there.
Yeah, man.
And we made a record that we loved for Epic Records. It was a really fun period of time because Epic and another label, RCA, were fighting over us, and we felt really special, and made a record that we loved. And then Epic made a determination that while they liked the music, they weren't sure if it was marketable, and there was an internal debate, and in the end we were dropped from Epic. And you know, when that kind of adversity hits a band, then sometimes personnel changes happen, and that happened with us too. There was no love lost between the members who stayed and a member who left to pursue something even more courageous than being in a band. But we were down a member, and we were also down positive energy. And in addition to being a super wonderful bass player, Twigg, as a human, injected a kind of let's go kick ass energy into the band at a time when our energy and sense of purpose were sort of flagging a bit. We were still very much in it, but we didn't have that extra rocket fuel that a band needs to restart its engines. And Twigg had that. And with Twigg, the band really did have a second act in a way that we never could have anticipated. And it was after that we started, John continued to write songs. They weren't the same as the other song. They didn't really gel with the material that he had written before. So we started in a new direction. And in the meantime, by a crazy coincidence of fate, this guy, Pharrell Williams, figured out who we were and got behind us. And the lineup of Spymob seemed to be really appropriate for what Pharrell and Chad and Shay were doing. And that was a great partnership. So I could keep talking about that, but I'll let you do the interview.
Oh, no, that's incredible. And I don't know if you guys saw or not, but we were just joined by the great Brent Paschke.
Oh. Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing? Sorry about my my tardiness today.
No worries whatsoever.
I'm out with the family, so I'm trying to adjust here. I'm in my car.
Oh no!
Trying to do this with you guys. So.
You're not driving, are you?
No, I'm not driving. No.
Okay, good. Well, welcome to Yo, That's My Jawn.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having us. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So what we were just all speaking about, we were all just kind of talking about the early days and where we were, where everyone was from. Brent, tell everybody where you grew up.
Well, so I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up in a little town called Grand Forks in North Dakota, which most people, when I say that, are like, man, I've never met anybody from North Dakota. It's a pretty desolate place, but yeah, I grew up in North Dakota, and then I made my way to Minneapolis after high school to go to music school, and that's where I met Eric and John and Twigg, and that's where it all kind of began.
That's so cool. Eric, you were just talking about kind of the Epic deal. I feel like around that time, so we had a local band that made big, and released an album through Sony and all of that, called Echolin. I'm not sure if you guys remember or familiar. They were a prog rock band, and they're a phenomenal band. But the same thing happened at the same time. You said you guys had went down a member after that. Was there a conversation about ending it at that point, or did you guys continue? Like, was there no doubt that you wanted to continue on and bring somebody in to replace your fallen comrades?
I don't recall, Brent, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't recall any conversation. Well, one, I don't recall any conversation that was a particular endpoint for us. And something that we talked about from the very beginning, Brent and John and I and Brian, whose name is now Dewan, from the very beginning, and then later with Twig, is that, hey guys, we know we can end this thing anytime. Like there was never this sense that like we have to do this thing, that it will be good as long as it's good, and then it will be done. But I don't recall. In fact, when Epic dropped us, there was this like gut punch, I think, that we all felt. But then this sense, we were on a plane to New York like the next week to communicate with our attorneys, just saying, we are in this. We believe in the record that we just created, and we intend to continue to do this. We flew out to Los Angeles and did more showcases for labels, which a little bit with our tail between our legs, but I don't know if I can say that for everyone, but there was this sense that, like, despite the fact that Epic just dropped us, we are here and we believe in what we're doing.
Yeah. So, not to, I am ping ponging all over the place here, so I do apologize. But like, when you guys were, kind of writing, what, I guess would be the core of, On Pilot Mountain, and then, the stuff that kind of continued into, Sitting Around Keeping Score, like, was there an evolution of kind of those songs, or did you have it as tight? Cause I'm not as familiar, with the early recordings of them, as I was obsessed, like I said, with Sitting Around Keeping Score. Could you feel like, an evolution of those songs, or did they just kind of like just get tighter?
I think they evolved quite a bit, I think, right, Eric? Like, we have like old demos, like there's the demo of, we have like the Spymob demos on Apple Music. I just listened to it the other day, and it's like, it's so crazy too. I was thinking, Eric, as I heard it, I was like, dude, that early version of 2040 was really cool. Like we had this little, like, I was back with an ADAT and stuff, and we did this stuff in our rehearsal room. And so the songs were definitely taking shape, but I guess it just, they changed. I don't know. They changed a bit when the producer came in, when Steve Loroni came in, he kind of tried to just make them a little bit more radio friendly, and, not quite as we would experiment quite a bit more. And he he'd call like cut the fat a bit, so, we'd have longer intros, or the songs tend to be a little bit longer and a little bit, just kind of going out and exploring different things. And he just wanted to kind of tighten them in a little bit. So Nathan,
something that you said, Nathan, caught my ear, which is, you said, what happened between the evolution of On Pilot Mountain and Sitting Around Keeping Score. And what's interesting is that that's actually a reference to the same album at different points in the creation of it. On Pilot Mountain was the first title that we were considering. I don't even remember how long we considered it. It ended up being called Sitting Around Keeping Score. And the songs on there, yes, so a few of those songs had earlier versions. We released an EP called Spymob 6-song EP, which we recorded and produced ourselves along with Alex Owana, an engineer producer friend of ours. And a few of those songs got on sitting around keeping score. The song On Pilot Mountain itself was actually finished while we were in the studio. It was the newest song, along with a song called Exposed to Light that John had written. He finished both of those while we were in the studio. On Pilot Mountain made the proposed epic release, which never came out then. Exposed to Light didn't come out until we released it ourselves a few years ago. But yeah, as Brent referenced, we do have a recording called Basement Tapes, which has an early version of 2040.
Didn't also, jumping in really quick, didn't on Thinking of Someone Else, the version that ended up on Sitting Around Keeping Score is the combination between the Spymob 6-song EP version and the Stephen Laroni On Pilot Mountain version.
Yeah,
we were so happy with elements of the original version, and also so happy with what ended up being the chorus that we revised when in process with Laroni, that we actually edited those two together.
That was Eric's idea, which was when Eric brought that up. I was like, how the heck is this going to work? Like, but Eric was like, let me just put them together in my computer and see if I can use the chorus that Alex Awana produced, and put it together with the verses of the Steve Laroni one, and it works. It's funny. It's crazy. It sounds really dope.
That's wild. What's the duration of time between the two pieces?
We recorded the original version in 1998.
Yeah,
like December 90. I think December 98 and into January 99. And then the next version was like the year later.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
It's an incredible piece of Frankenstein.
Yeah, just spliced to 2 tracks. It was just the 2 tracks between them. And it worked great.
Thank goodness we subscribed to A440 tuning and click tracks.
Yeah. Christian, joining the band, was it difficult joining a band that you enjoyed so much as a listener, or did it come easy? Did you jump in seamlessly?
Well, this is kind of funny because I felt like I didn't know what I didn't know. I felt like I kind of jumped in, and I think Eric was being a little kind, saying that I was like a good bass player, because I think by comparison, these guys were far my superior in their music abilities, and I came in there like a golden retriever. I think I just had probably too much energy, and they really took me under their wing and really helped me kind of hone my groove. They had a very particular pocket, and so they kind of put me through boot camp to get to get up to speed and just where they were, and so it's kind of funny to look back at that.
I have to just jump on that and say the thing about being in a band is that the word band implies that there is this sort of elastic tautness around this group. I think of it as a band. And I think for sure there was, you don't just join a band, and you have to learn the ropes of, existing energies in that band. And I think for sure, like, there were things that John and Brent and I had already honed over many, many years, and feels that were important to us, that were part of that sound and part of John's songs. For sure, there was an element of that. But again, the energy that we were getting from Twig, and what that was injecting into the band, those sort of like contributions were going in all directions.
Yeah,
sure.
I second that totally. Like, because Twig came in and it's tough to just jump into. We had Eric and John and I had spent so much time, learning together a lot. Really, made a whole other album, and but like, yeah, it's just it's hard for anybody. Like, it's like not fair to be like, oh, it's hard. No, it's like Twig came in and murdered it. I mean, killed it. I listened back to like some like live like NERD recordings recently, and like I was like, my God, like we're just like, after a while, then we just had a thing. It was like Twig really got in there, and it maybe took a little bit to just like kind of feel the groove out, but like once it was there, it was just like undeniable. Like, so
yeah. I mean,
killed it, T-Dub.
as a fan, like the one thing that I love about you guys, and not just on album, but having seen you live and whatnot, is just how tight you are. And like, not just the songwriting as being tight, but you guys like could create just such a beautiful pocket together. So like to hear that, like, that, your description of a band like completely makes sense to me, because, but I couldn't imagine trying to enter that as a new guy. So like, it's pretty amazing that you were able to kind of, replace that Voltron arm, essentially, and create a new, mech, whatever they call the Voltron. I lost my analogy. I had it there. It was so perfect. If I could have just remembered that name. But okay, so so you have good management and stuff like that, and they kind of get you in the ear of Pharrell and Chad. How did that the jump to Star Trak happen?
Can I take at least the front part of that, guys?
Yeah, hit it.
So we were dropped from Epic, and at the time, Polly Anthony was heading up Epic, and we had a bit of a tough negotiation after we were dropped. We could either take a big bunch of money that they owed us for the second record that they never released or made, or they could give us the record back. And our lawyers, who were our longtime greatest allies, were able to negotiate the album. So we walked with the album. We weren't happy. Our attorney, being a super pro, was able to navigate the tricky thing of maintaining good relationships with labels while also being a fierce advocate for the clients. And our attorney also happened to represent this kid named Pharrell Williams, who is this rising tastemaker in the industry. And a few months after we were dropped and went through our own process via our attorney, Tim, with Polly to get our record back, Polly invited Tim and his client, Pharrell, to the office to talk to Pharrell about an imprint that Epic might have for the tastemaker, kingmaker Pharrell to cultivate new artists. And so Tim and Pharrell enter Polly's office, and Tim sits in a corner, and Pharrell says to Polly, I don't know if we're going to do business today or not, but I do want to tell you that my favorite band on earth is on Epic, and that's a good place to start. And Polly said, oh my God, really, Pharrell? Who are you talking about? And Pharrell says, Spymob, of course. Now, Tim's sitting in the corner, and Tim has no idea Pharrell has ever heard of his band, Spymob, that most people hadn't heard of. And Polly shoots a glance at Tim like, did you just set me up?
Yeah.
And Pharrell sees what's going on and says, what's going on? And Tim says, never mind, Pharrell, I'll tell you later. Can we just get down to business here? And after that meeting, Tim calls me and says, you'll never guess who's a fan. And I said, who? He said, Pharrell Williams. And I confessed, I kind of maybe have heard the name. Tim's like, I'm a hustler, baby. And I'm like, okay. And Tim connects us, and I'm elected to fly out a week later, and I meet Pharrell, and Pharrell says, oh my God, I've loved you guys ever since. A friend of mine at Famous Music Publishing, who was our publisher, gave him a copy of our old 6-song EP. that he hadn't heard the Epic recording. He's like, oh, I can't get Walking Under Green Leaves out of my head. So that's how things started.
That's unbelievable. Like the amount of chance in all of that, like, is just that if you don't believe in a higher something, you know, like even if you just believe in coincidence, that is phenomenal. So was it an easy jump for you guys, like when they came knocking to bring you in, or was there some kind of was there any hesitation due to like what does he know about this kind of the more of a rock era, you know, what was there anything there, or
we didn't have much going on?
Yeah. That makes sense.
What were you going to say, Brent?
No, but there was a lot of mutual like love of, you know, like Steve, like the kind of like the music we were listening to, and like we really liked these interesting chord progressions, and you know, Pharrell loved that. So that, I mean, I felt like that was easy. I was super stoked, to be honest. When I first heard the NERD record, like I was really, really excited to play on it.
You know,
but yeah, so I felt like it felt easy and natural. I mean, and recording In Search Of it was amazing. It was really fun, and yeah, it felt like working with. Yeah, it felt pretty easy and natural, right? Eric, you feel the same back in that time?
It never felt it in all the collaboration we did with those guys. I think the feeling was that it was all very easy and organic. In fact, the process of recording In Search Of, which happened after John flew out to work with Khalees. Pharrell asked John to come out and sing on Mr. UFO Man on a Khalees album. John reported that was fun and easy, and Pharrell had a great time with John, and Khalees had a great time. And then in June of, what was it, 2000? I always get those years screwed up, but Pharrell's like, do you guys want to come out and re-record or record live instruments on this album that we've been conceiving, and now we want to do it with real instruments? They just flew all of our instruments out. Rocket Cargo shipped all of our pretty much vintage instruments that we were kind of always dedicated to a vintage sound. And that process was so easy breezy, and we couldn't believe we recorded the whole thing in 10 days. Twig, what was your feeling?
I was just going to walk back a little bit, because I was going to ask you guys if you guys remember the timeline between Pharrell. I thought this was pretty genius of Pharrell. He expressed his interest in Spymob to sign to his new label once he established a label, but I don't remember the timeline, honestly. But it was pretty genius of him to hire us on to re-record In Search Of, in the spirit of like promoting us as a band for once he landed a deal. So it was kind of like the gateway that kind of got us started. And you guys remember when that happened, based on when, and then when he actually signed the Star Trak deal with Arista?
I think that was always part of the picture for Pharrell. He always had cross promotion on his mind, but the thing that I've always appreciated about Pharrell, I think a lot of people do, is that he likes what he likes. It's unapologetic about it. And, it's sort of like Steve Jobs saying, like, don't wait for the people to ask for it. Tell them what they want to hear. And Pharrell just always thought about us in that way. He, even though things didn't happen in a huge way for Spymob, there's still time though, guys. He always felt like this is what the people really want. And from the moment that we met him, I'm sure, like, yes, I think he appreciated us as the backup group for NERD, and he believed that Spymob would be, a people pleaser in our own right.
Definitely. You mentioned, kind of coming into In Search Of, NERD is another, thing I was obsessed with, still am obsessed with. But when that first release came out, when In Search Of came out with the production version, not the live music version, like it felt like nothing to me. Like I was just like, yeah, it's, it's good. I like their work, but this is, whatever. And then, I can't even remember. It might have actually even been Questlove, mentioning the live music version of it that made me go back and check it out again. And I was like blown away because it has all of the feeling that all of those songs required to work. Like the early version just didn't hit. And I think the bringing you guys in definitely kind of, brought that energy that it required. And then when I saw the stuff live, like forget about it. It was, it was absolutely over. What was the process of re-recording those tracks like? Was it straight live through, or was it like a sample of the live instrumentation?
Yeah. I remember going in and just, basically kind of tracking over that previous version for the most part.
Yeah. You
guys remember that?
Oh yeah. I just, yes.
We remember we practiced a bit over it too. We had like a bunch of ideas and stuff we even went in with, which all got thrown out, which should have got thrown out. But yeah,
not all of them. Not all of them,
maybe. Yeah, but we spent some time. Like we were a pretty diligent band. We really put in our time. So like we had that version, obviously without the live instruments, and we sat in our studio and tried things out and stuff like that. But then we got there, and it was really because Pharrell and Chad were at that time, they were really getting busy, and so we spent really the majority of the time with Chad just sitting in the studio, and Chad saying, okay, try this, let's try that, let's try this, and a lot of it's kind of like doubling things. And, obviously drums are a big part of that, laying drums across the whole thing and then lining those up to program drums. And it's really fun. And it's an interesting time too, because some of that stuff was kind of a little bit harder to do at that time, like to match up, instruments like that and computers, and it was fun. It was really interesting and fun.
Yeah. That was definitely, I would have to say, one of my first experiences in like a legit recording studio. And so one of the things that, blew me away was, talking about bringing that energy to that album, is like watching Eric and Brent play, especially I remember Eric playing live drums over those sequence drums and bringing all that energy, but still like keeping it locked down on that click was amazing.
Yeah. And it's tricky. Like that's a different, to do it over top of like Pharrell and Chad beats too is interesting because they don't hard quantize. So it's like, it's a lot especially for Eric. It's like, it's quite a job. You got to really lock into those exact feels of what Pharrell and Chad had programmed, which is extremely important. You can't just straighten out a Pharrell and Chad, put it in the computer and hit quantize to 0. So that everything's right on the bar line, you lose the feel. So there's like a lot of finesse put into making sure that we didn't mess any of that up.
It's easy looking back to talk, to characterize it as all intentional, but I don't think, have we talked to Spymob guys about Mark Ronson's interview last month where he was talking about In Search Of and the drums and
No, I didn't know that. No. That's pretty dope.
Yeah, that Fader interview was really incredible. The 2-part.
Yeah, and it's a friend mentioned that, and I went and listened to it, and it was really cool to hear Mark Ronson compare the two versions of with the live instruments and without the live instruments. And he said something that I think we all agree, but it was not a plan, which he said there's something about that recording, because even at the time we were all aware that when we see music that was conceived of with a drum machine, and often hip hop is, and then you see it on a late night TV show with a live band, it can really lose something. So how do you maintain the tightness where it has to be tight, but also bring some liveness without ruining the conciseness? And so we just did our best to try to do that, but also not deny the fact that we're live. We wanted to be live instruments, but we didn't want to overpower what was there. And I think one of the elements that helped is that we're using instrumentation. Everything is muted, a Rhodes piano, electric guitar that isn't, super bright and takeover-y, and vintage drums that are fuddy, they're not big, they're not bright, and, bass tones that are darker. And it happened to work, but it's not, looking back, it's like we got lucky. I don't know, but it does work, but we weren't sure what we were doing. Let me be clear. I didn't know. There was no plan. There was no I know this is what we're creating. For me, it was almost like I was becoming a fan of NERD with us at the time that we were creating that with us.
That makes sense.
I didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah. Was it easy to then take that work and translate it live? Or was that a whole nother set of kind of work?
The only work was we made the decision, and Pharrell and Chad and Shay, because Spymob was a seasoned live band and those guys hadn't performed much really at all, they were like, you guys plan the live show. And we're like, that's fine. No pressure, but we felt comfortable doing that because, we had a sense of what songs were going to be good to finish with. And they tasked us with, we did put together some augmentation tracks, some tracks that would be playing in the background that wouldn't take away from the live set. But other than that, I think the translation was really easy.
Yeah, I felt like it was really easy. We really just played the records down. We just played it like it was, and it was just about especially at that time, it was just about let's get that pocket feeling great, and that's really, go back to those early NERD shows with Spymob, it's just pocket, and we were really into that at that time too. We were really into just pocket grooves, and just laying it down. So yeah.
Well, I felt too when we were in the studio, at times can feel like you're under a microscope. And so when it was time to actually rehearse and play that live, I really felt like we were able to let the tiger out of the cage.
Yeah.
I felt like we really opened up.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely showed. Before everybody joined, Christian and I were talking about the very first Sprite Liquid Mix tour, which is I caught you guys at, and I was talking about the fact that I saw you guys on the side stage early on, playing for 50, 100 people, and had a conversation with Christian where I said, how crazy is it that in 2 hours, all these people who aren't paying attention are going to be screaming at you, what was it like kind of working double duty, on those tours, playing your own stuff and then switching and going to essentially the main stage to then headline essentially?
It was, it was fun. I love those tours back then. I think it was fun. I think probably for Eric, it was the toughest because it was quite a workout the whole night, But like, yeah, man, it was just so much fun. And it's still like early days for us. And we were, still just kind of all cutting our teeth like on big stages and stuff. So yeah, it was a blast. It wasn't really difficult. It was fun. And we knew that like it was going to be hard for us. We knew that we wouldn't get like tons and tons of people knowing Spymob. And we knew it was going to be a little bit of a grind, so we were ready for that and just doing our best,
I think too, we weren't 22. We were, 30-ish or a few years, maybe beyond a couple of years after 30 and
speak for yourself.
Yeah, I know. No, you're supposed to say, speak for yourself, old man.
Speak for yourself, old man.
Okay, there you go. But we were in our 30s. I was in my 30s. And I think we really appreciated most moments. I mean, we were all away from certain elements of family. I had a wife and 2 kids at that point. And, I wouldn't have been out there if it wasn't really living something that was really important. And we never, there were frustrating days for sure, but I think for the most part, we were very aware of what it meant to be a band now together for 11 years, 10 years, and to be getting exposed. I think the most special thing was the variety of fans that we were exposed to. The Sprite Liquid Mix tour was in some ways an encapsulation of the audiences that Spymob had on the road with NERD. All kinds of backgrounds of these kids. If Spymob had gone a traditional track, we would have been playing to a largely white audience and with a very sort of, limited experience of backgrounds. With NERD and with that range of artists on that road, sure, we were having a different number of people in front of the Spymob stage, the side stage in the afternoon than in the front. But it was like smorgasbord of meeting a variety of folks.
Yeah, this gets thrown around a lot, but I truly believe that like it, not just you guys, but you guys and NERD in a sense, like were so ahead of your time in the ability to like different things, like everything was so genre specific at that time. And I just feel like you guys helped kind of push that kind of cross genre idea, I mean, festivals helped a lot and stuff like that and all, but I think that NERD project early on kind of created the weird potpourri that exists now. Like it was just so ahead of its time. And like, could you sense that you guys were doing something that would, I don't want to say change music, because that's just, it is what it is, but like that it was kind of a sign of things to come, I guess is what would be the best way to describe it. Were you kind of aware of that, or is that just kind of something that's noticeable in retrospect?
Man.
Yeah, that's interesting. I would say first thing that I would say is is that was really the genius I think that Pharrell was. I mean, he's this huge hip hop producer, but like he liked to skateboard and wear a trucker hat. I mean, even just the imagery of him was, I think, extremely forward for the time. He was just a trendsetter. Like Eric was saying earlier, he just kind of told people what they were going to like, I think, and he created this thing, and he did it intentionally and brought a band like Spymob into his world and just mashed it all up, and it worked. It just worked. I personally, speaking for myself, I don't think I had a clue of what that album would meant at the time. Only looking back do I kind of just go, wow. I mean, like that was amazing. And I mean, it still holds up. I feel like even today as feeling like this record still seems like it's like futuristic to me, you know? So I'll leave it with that.
I relate wholeheartedly to that. It's that sense of, I didn't know what we were doing at the time until we did it and could reflect on it. And really, I feel like it was in seeing how it was bouncing off of the crowd back to us. That to me was really, those experiences were how I understood what it was. And that experience to me was a sense of relief in the, you know, in addition to Pharrell suggesting to people, this is what you should like, I think it was also a sense of, this is a thing you have license to like. And as soon as people realized, oh my God, we don't have to put music into these separate categories, that we can enjoy the smear and we can enjoy this this thing you don't see every day, which is two African-American performers and a Filipino-American performer backed by 4 white American performers. That, this is a thing. This is a thing that can exist now, and it can rock hard and it can funk hard. And I think it was in seeing it bounce off the audience that we were like, people are really feeling free to like this shit.
Yeah, and I was talking to Nathan earlier before the interview about how really early on, you know, some of the faces were just like blank in the, you know, the first couple of shows, maybe even the first half of our tour where we'd go and play. And there was almost like this sense of like, they're seeing Pharrell, the hip hop producer, or for the Neptunes. And here we are rocking out. And there was almost a little bit of a confusion kind of early on, but it didn't take long before people then really kind of got the thing and really got behind it.
That's cool.
And overseas too. Like it was really, it connected. It felt like it connected over there on a different level. There's just like, I think it's just culturally, it's a little different too, but you'd go overseas and they'd be singing every song. And yeah, it really connected there. And it's also a testament to like Chad, Pharrell, and Shay just like going for it and just making what they with that album. They just wanted to make something that they felt was cool. They weren't really following any rules or nothing. So like when people just kind of let go, you felt that in that album, you know. It's just, they did whatever they wanted with it, you know. And
yeah,
that's what worked, you know. The art, that album is really such a piece of art in that way, you know, that it really embraces exactly who they were. I don't really feel like they were sitting in the studio like writing those songs thinking like, we're gonna sell millions of records. They're just like writing these songs going, this is what we feel, and we want to make the coolest shit, you know.
And for Spymob at the time, I mean, our style, which was important for our style, but it for sure was about being meticulous. You know, we really sweated our arrangements and we made sure that everything was where we wanted it to be. Mm-hmm. And that was part of our sound. That's part of why, you know, it was a positive part of how we approached music, but it's not the only way to approach music. And so when we got into the studio for the first time with Chad and Shay and Pharrell, mm-hmm. there was the sense of go. And we went and we threw down parts, and it was not meticulous. We went with inspiration, and suddenly we'd be on to the next song. And I would say, I'm pretty sure we should fix. And as soon as I would say fix, Chad would say, we're not fixing nothing. Mm-hmm. And so today, you know, if you listen to Provider, the tempo is a little floaty, and I'm just living with that because apparently Provider, you know, people liked it despite the tempo shifts. So
definitely like it. That's one of my favorite tracks on the album too. That's so funny.
This just goes to show that, you know, as artists, we come in with certain priorities, and sometimes we just need someone else to be like, no, we're not going to do it that way. And like, okay.
Yeah.
Including Eric, like even the, I remember the shaker that you went in to do the shaker on Stay Together. And typically, you know, we would you do a shaker and it takes like just a couple of hits a lot of times to kind of like drop right in sometimes,
Yeah.
And that's what we were expecting, like Eric could go in there and, kind of, okay, just second, okay, I'm in, like a half a bar in or so. And like, it's kept, it's there. It's just like this nice little loose intro. Yeah. Yeah. I have the same thing on like, there's things are getting better. There's like a part where I kind of like stop a chord or something. Like, it's there still,
That's
but
awesome.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's awesome. Like that stuff, like we like, and especially because we did that album with Epic before that. And that was much more, Steve Laroni, the producer, was much more meticulous, and make us really get those parts right on. And rock records, like to a fault, a lot of times, like a lot of rock records get so meticulous and it just sucks the life out of them. Those guys, even to this, I mean, it was not even, maybe 5 years ago, I remember recording with Pharrell, and he was so busy at the time. It's around the happy time, and I'm in there and like, God, dude, he'll be like, okay, I got this part, here it is, hum it to me. Right. And it's like, and the minute I get it one time through, right, he'll like go, Drew or Mike, I can't remember who was there. Mike, I think it was Mike, record. And I'm like, give me a second to internalize it. Like I gotta and I'd get it. And I remember looking at him going like, yo, I can tighten that up. I can get that a little tighter. And he's like, sounds good to me.
Oh my God.
Listen, I'm not going to question you. That's for sure. Cause I trust you. I trust your ears.
I was thinking that I heard Drop It Like It's Hot for the first time in years the other day. And I was like, God, that's all just humanness.
Yeah.
It's a judgment that there's some spirit there that's not about quote precision.
Yeah.
The spirit.
Well,
that's why they got that sound. That's why you can't copy that sound. It's like, it's amazing, feels so good.
And that's what I was going to say is like, that sound, is why I think the life why like something like In Search Of came to life with live instrumentation as opposed to kind of the tracked version, is because it's not as programmed or whatnot. Those slight imperfections or those little changes is part of the soul and is part of what gives it that kind of hard feeling.
I will speak up for the NERD fan base that likes the initial version, in that there is a real innocence and demo quality to that also is a real aspect of the NERD sound that,
I agree.
So that when people are like, oh, screw the live version, the first version's best. Like, who are we to disagree? There's a real charm to the rawness. And it's like, what rawness do you want? Do you want the rawness with instruments, or do you want the rawness of like, oh, there's some empty space in here? When Spymob got the tracks from Pharrell, Shay, and Chad before we recorded, and they were like, here are the raw tracks. If you have any arrangement ideas, let us know. We wanted to fill every little space. And that's why they were like, no, we're not going to do that. But that space is something that has always been a part of the Neptune sound. And so I think we all appreciate why some people really appreciate the version without instruments.
Yeah. I guess I don't want to come across as if I hated it, because I didn't. But like I said, it's different. You know what I mean? And it just didn't kind of hit me the way that the live version did. Well, you guys were so you guys were on Star Trak, and then, that kind of, you guys were a part of the kind of Arista debacle. It was like you guys and Keyless, right? That they kind of didn't want to end up putting out the albums. What was the breakdown there? Was it like, were you worried that album would never come out, or did you know that like, well, all right, if they're not going to do it, we're going to get it out one way or the other?
The debacle was really, I was, at least personally, I was unaware of the details of what was happening relationally at the top, right? You guys, what do you think?
Yeah, I was unaware of that. I didn't know. I didn't know there was anything until we got the news that we're getting dropped, really. So,
well, and just
at least I don't remember.
Just to back up a little bit, once we landed on Arista, we were on tour with NERD, and 18 months goes by, and we're sitting around together, just kind of scratching our heads, like, what's going on here? They have our record, and it's just radio silence from the top, at Arista. So that was, very challenging. And then, so 18 months into that, I just remember getting a call from our manager, Sterling McElwain, saying, Arista's on board, it's time to go. So strap up your boots, we're gonna, this is happening. Okay. So Arista's on board all of a sudden, and we got the green light. We spent the next 6 months doing media training, photo shoots and reviews and magazines. And so we did the whole treatment and all the prep to release our record. So everything was a go. And so we did 6 months worth of that. And the way I remember it was literally we were supposed to listen to the radio to hear our song on the national release. The campaign is, the drop, and no song on the radio for 1, 2, 3, 4 days or whatever it was. And then we got a call from our manager saying, that in the last minute, Reid, who was at the top of Arista at the time, decided to drop us.
That's wild. That is so wild. Like it's wild. Like it's part of the weirdness of that time period too in the music industry. Like that, the amount of, I guess I'll say the amount of money that people would put behind things, and then just kind of like, someone would leave a position or something like that, and then all of a sudden everything changes. That's wild. But so how did you guys end up getting that album back to be able to then take it to Ruthless?
In that case, unless you guys remember differently, there wasn't a fight. I think even though Arista had paid in advance for it, that was sort of roped into his initial deal with the Neptunes and Star Trak. We got the album back. This time it was sort of a question of, we've been here before. We know what it means to be dropped. The second time isn't as hard as the first. We still had this great relationship with Pharrell that was ongoing. Twig?
It was my first dropping.
It was extra hard for Twig. This time around, we were his support. We're like, you'll get through this. All you need is a bright, shiny, energetic person to come into your life the way you did to us. And we just kind of, we were a band without a label for a while we continued to tour with NERD. And we were at South by Southwest in the coming months afterwards. And Tamika Wright, who was running Ruthless Records, showed interest, and we met with Tamika, and she dedicated herself to having Ruthless Records, founded as a rap label, release, of all things, our record. So it did come out, not as spectacularly as we originally had envisioned, but we were happy to get it out. And then 10 years later, when the rights reverted back to us, we added a few songs that were recorded during those same sessions and re-released it ourselves.
Yeah, the remastering and all of that, and the re-release sounds absolutely incredible, and those extra songs are killer. What that second, like the second time you put it out or whatnot, what was was there a good reaction to that? Because like for me, it was exciting because it was like, oh my God, here we go again. Like I was hoping for more. I thought more was coming. I did listen to Memphis though, and I do own that digitally. But what was the thought process behind getting that back and kind of revising it and re-releasing it?
I think it was just like we just kind of. I know when we did the Ruthless deal, I feel like I remember I felt like I was like, man, I want to at least have this record back at some point if this doesn't work out, like, so I was excited to like be able to do that deal with it, so we would know we could get it back. And I think it was just like, for me, it was just like, I just wanted to like have it out right, be able to put the music out the way it should be out, I guess. I don't know. It just felt good to like release it because, I'm really proud of that album and proud of that album, what I did with everybody in the group, for me, it was just getting a piece of art out that I was proud of, really, I don't know how you guys were, like that was it,
Well, I mean, man, when I think back, looking back full circle, all of this stuff that we did with Pharrell and NERD and all of it was all to get that record out. That was why we were there, and we had amazing experiences, and we got so lucky to have the experience with NERD that we did. And we really did all of it in the spirit of getting that record out because we just believed in it so much.
I mean, rightfully so. Like, I kind of said this when we were messaging each other and all, like that album literally stayed in my CD player, just dating myself, my Discman, for like 4 months. I mean, like it just lived there. And like, I have incredible memories of like, walking around Philadelphia, in my pea coat, with that on my headphones, just kind of lost in the music, wandering streets as I just, walked around and all. It really spoke to me. And I'm not just saying that because I lived at home until I was like 37, which also it really did kind of, hit home. That's but no, it's a really special collection of songs that you guys created. And, so coming up in a little bit here, I'm going to ask you guys like an unappreciated Jawn, which is just something that you want to spotlight that you wish more people knew about. And you guys are like one of my top 5 unappreciated Jawns. Like I just wish more people knew how brilliant that album is. And I'm glad that you guys were able to kind of get it out there properly and do what with it it deserves. I mean, I think it deserves more than that, but the fact that you guys were able to take ownership of it and kind of get it back out there is phenomenal, and I'm really, really happy that happened.
I think for all of us, we all have families, and so I think there's a side of all of us that would have loved to have dropped everything and dropped $1 million of money we don't have to go and do a national tour in support of it. But really for us, it was, we all are busy doing things that we love that, nevertheless don't allow us to do that. But we just, to echo what other guys were saying, just to get the music out meant a lot in the form that we wanted it to be out.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, at this time, gentlemen, would you like to sit through the Jawntlet? These are my standard stock questions that I ask every single guest of this show. I've even done it myself. I've sat through the Jawntlet, interviewed by this gentleman over my shoulder right here. His name is Petey, and he is a Muppet. That's available on YouTube if anybody wants to check that out. It's pretty funny, if I do say so myself. Petey steals the show, but whatever. But these are 2 10-question segments, rapid. They can be rapid fire. You can take your time if you want to jump on them, whatever you want. We'll go around. I'll just kind of announce everybody, but it starts with the one-hit wonders, and these are just verses. One-hit wonder number 1, Billy Joel or Elton John? Eric, we'll start with you.
Billy Joel was my favorite, my first concert ever, and I have to go with the Piano Man.
I love it. Brent, how about you?
One hit wonder. What? I don't get it. I don't get the question.
Because they're one hitters. So like they're just like you're only picking one. It's just a play on words.
Okay. No, I gotta go with Elton John. Yeah.
Okay, good. And Christian.
Yeah, I gotta go with Elton John too.
Oh, 2-1. I like it.
No disrespect, Elton. I love you too.
Number 2, Debbie Harry or Joan Jett? Christian, we'll go backwards.
I'm gonna have to go with Debbie Harry on that one.
Yeah. Okay. Brent?
I got to go Joan Jett.
All right. Eric?
I just want them both, but Debbie Harry.
Okay. All right. I like it. The next one, and this one. So when I first started this, there were a whole different series of these. I had like Sammy Hagar versus David Lee Roth, and everybody said David Lee Roth, clearly. So I had to change it. And this is one of the ones I changed it to, and I'm going to have to change it again because it's a little overloaded. But Aretha Franklin or Tina Turner? Brent, we'll start with you.
Yeah, Aretha.
Yeah, it makes sense. Eric?
No disrespect, Tina. But Aretha.
Yeah. Christian?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Tina.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like I said, that one's got to come out. It's just not working the way I wanted it to. The next one, Nirvana or Pearl Jam? Eric?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I've got to go with Nirvana.
Okay. And Christian?
Man, that is a tough one for me. I remember seeing Pearl Jam live at First Avenue. So I have a very strong connection with that 10 record. Man, I don't even know if I can even answer that one. I have to plead the fifth on that one, I think.
Acceptable. Very acceptable. Brent, what do you got?
Yeah, I gotta go. Both unbelievable bands, of course, but I gotta go Nirvana. But they just hit me a little harder.
Absolutely. Next one, Janis Joplin or Stevie Nicks? Eric?
Janis.
Brent?
I might have to go Stevie for me. Yeah.
Okay. And Christian?
I have no idea. No clue.
That's a good one.
I just can't.
Okay, that's fair. Absolutely fair. The next one is the big one that everybody always asks. Beatles versus the Stones. Christian?
That's actually an easy one for me. Although I will say that I later in my life have I been able to really appreciate the Stones, but it's hands down Beatles for me.
Okay. Brent?
Hands down Beatles, yeah.
And Eric?
The Beatles.
Yeah, I get it. It's fair. My pick was the Stones. I'm one of those. And
this interview is over.
Shut it down.
Maybe when the wonderful documentary comes along of the Stones that rivals Get Back.
That's right. If Peter Jackson gets his hands on all of the outtakes from Gimme Shelter, it's on.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
The last one-hit wonder, and this one, I think I might be able to guess, but I'm not going to assume anything. Bohemian Rhapsody or Stairway to Heaven? We'll start with Brent.
Oh boy! Oh my God!
You're cruel, Nathan.
Oh, that is so cruel. Oh my God. I can't. No, I gotta pass on that. I couldn't. No, it's 50-50. It's 50-50 on that. No doubt.
All right, Christian.
No doubt.
Well, I would say, if it wasn't for Wayne's World, I'm just going to go with Stairway to Heaven.
Okay, that's fair.
You bring in Wayne's World.
I love it. And Eric, what do you think?
As just epic and iconic and uniquely itself as Stairway to Heaven is, I think the feeling I had when I first heard Bohemian Rhapsody was so otherworldly that I have to go with Bohemian Rhapsody. To this day, there's a way that I can conceive of Stairway to Heaven being created. Like, it is a masterpiece. But when I think of Bohemian Rhapsody, I still cannot wrap my head around how that song is assembled, much less recorded.
That is true with that one. Yeah.
Even to the point of the way that the centerpiece was written boggles my mind. Like, it's just
yeah.
I can't conceive of it.
It's otherworldly.
Yeah.
All right. The next and final segment is the top 10 countdown. Now, in this section, I don't know how familiar you guys are with Philly slang, but the word Jawn, we use it to mean anything. It can literally be anything you want it to be. It doesn't have to be music. It can be anything you want. So feel free to let these answers be whatever you want them to be. Again, like I said earlier, no one's being judged on any of this. So, number one, what was your first Jawn? What was the first thing you found yourself obsessed with as a child? Eric, we'll start with you.
Well, Captain and Tennille was brief, but Kiss lasted years. And Kiss is the reason why I do music today.
Excellent. Brent, how about yourself?
Well, before music, it was dirt bikes, like motorcycle dirt bikes,
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, yeah. And BMX bikes. I was a 70s kid, so
yeah,
that was hot,
Did you ever jump anything cool?
No, I wasn't.
Tank of sharks or anything?
No, I wasn't too crazy on all of it. I luckily got into guitar when I was like around 13, 14. So I didn't get to the place of hurting myself too bad.
Good.
But yeah, we had the 3-wheelers and stuff. My brother broke his leg on it. Like we had some pretty fun times on that stuff.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Christian, how about yourself? First Jawn.
Yeah, man, I got a second Eric's with Kiss, because that shit, blew my mind as a youngster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have a photo of me with my little plastic Kiss guitar, with my tongue out, and I had to have been like 3 or 4, and it's like you can see pure joy in my face, and I don't think I even could understand or comprehend how much what was going on with Kiss at that time. I was just like, hey man, look at these guys in this cool makeup. But yes, definitely Kiss is up there for me as well. Number 2, what's your current Jawn? We'll just go backwards. Christian.
Oh man, I'm looking at this list of questions, and man, I'm just I'm struggling over here trying to think about stuff. You're catching me off guard.
Oh, it's all good.
Come back to me.
All right, I'll come back. Brent, what are you into right now?
Music Jawn or just Johns in general?
Johns in general.
Just what?
Anything you're feeling.
Krishnamurti.
Okay.
I love reading anything and studying any. I love the philosopher Krishnamurti. It's like that's what I do on my time off, is read his books.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Eric, how about yourself?
Parenting teenagers just has to be a curiosity that I'm obsessed with. But since I'm forced to do that, I want to take this opportunity to call out Meg Hutchinson, who's a songwriter based in Boston. She's up to a lot of stuff, but songwriting, Meg has always been one of the most powerful songwriters, and I can't believe that more people don't know about her. And if there's a starting point album, it's called The Living Side.
I will definitely have to check that out. That sounds incredible. Christian, did you think of anything?
No, I got nothing, man. Let's move on.
You're good. Well, then I'll let you take this one. Number 3, what was your first concert?
Metallica.
Okay, where at?
Man, it was what was the dang? I don't even know what the I don't remember what arena it was in Minneapolis. It was the Injustice for All tour.
Okay.
But whatever arena it was at, I don't sure that it exists anymore. But I am not remembering it so dang long ago.
Oh, that's wild. That's wild. Yeah. Brent,
I was just a teenager.
How about yourself, Brent? What was your first concert?
Seventh grade, Ozzy Osbourne, Bark at the Moon tour.
Very nice. Very
mind-boggling.
Nice.
Yeah, when you're seventh grade. Yeah, it was awesome.
That's incredible. Eric, first concert.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, it was Billy Joel, 1978. I don't know what the album was, but I remember Liberty DeVito. This was just as I was starting to be a drummer. Liberty DeVito comes out, and on his very first hit of the drums, he breaks the stick, but he doesn't break his stride, and he grabs another stick, and he's on, and I'm like, I want to do that.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That is incredible. See, those are the kind of moments that like just spark so much joy in me, is like hearing like these little things that probably in his head he was like shit, but he played it off so cool and then inspired yourself to play drums. Incredible.
Thank you, Liberty.
Number 4, what was the last concert you were at, Brent?
Oh God, dang it. Let somebody else go. I got to think about that for a second. I can't remember which one it was.
Yeah, no problem. Christian?
I cannot remember.
Yeah. Okay. Eric?
I don't remember.
I mean, it's difficult in COVID times, but pre-COVID, I saw Rufus Wainwright.
Oh,
and Rufus put on, I went with medium expectations. I was a fan, 20 years ago. And frickin' A, did he put on a hell of a show, and his band blew my mind.
That's awesome. Everybody seems to remember. Brent, go ahead.
I remember it, and I can't believe I forgot this, is Grateful Dead. And I've never really listened to the Grateful Dead. And I have a couple great friends that, like, we got to go to, I mean, unbelievable concerts. Oh, my God. With John Mayer. And at the Hollywood Bowl, which was insane.
Awesome.
Really,
that is
really fun.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Christian,
great band to see.
Did you remember?
Yeah, I did remember. At least this is the last one that's coming to my mind, was Wolfpack at Red Rocks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That was bananas.
Those are 3 great last concerts. I love it. Number 5, what was your favorite concert you've ever been to, Eric?
Oh, my God.
It's a tough one, I know.
My favorite concert. Spymob live at the Fillmore in San Francisco. Favorite concert. I mean, which one did I have the most glee? Maybe Rush Power Windows 1987, because of the sheer, I can't believe I'm watching Rush play live, and being from Ames, Iowa, driving up to the St. Paul Civic Center, which is no longer there. There was a magic about that.
That's amazing. That's one of my top 5, I would say. Probably like number 3 was Rush during the Counterparts tour. My friends and I camped out, and we got 3rd row seats, and it blew my face off. Like, absolutely blew my face off watching them that close. And big rest in peace to Neil Peart.
Yes,
who was unbelievable. Brent, favorite concert?
It was the first album tour for both of them. It was at First Avenue in Minneapolis. The tickets were $5. I think they were $5. It was Rage Against the Machine and Mr. Bungle.
Whoa!
It was fucking epic, dude.
Impressive.
Fucking First Avenue, yo, insanity. Both those groups. Oh my God,
that's amazing.
Insane.
I can't even imagine.
The first album for both of them too. So it's just like, fuck. God, insane.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Lucky. I was so lucky to get that.
Christian, what do you got?
Yeah, I would have to say it was probably the first Lollapalooza.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
That was a crazy lineup.
That was an insane lineup.
I remember waiting in line for like a beer, and Nine Inch Nails comes on. I'd never even heard Nine Inch Nails, and I was like, what is happening right now? This is nuts. You know? I mean, and what was Ice-T's band?
Body Count.
Body Count.
Body Count. I mean, come on.
Oh yeah.
Jane's Addiction. I mean, it was
unbelievable.
And they'd have the Freak Show. Did you see the Freak Show ever, Twig? Did you go watch the Freak Show?
Of course I did.
Dude, and you'd see people passing out in the audience.
I mean, I saw a dude like hang a brick off of his nipple rings, you know? I mean,
those are the memories made. It's unbelievable. That wasn't, I mean, like, you know, it became whatever almost every festival is, but those early Lollapalooza shows, that was another just shot in the dark of magic, you know, like just
unbelievable.
Incredible. Number 6, who have you never seen live who you wish you would have? They can be living or dead. Brent, we'll start with you.
Beatles.
Yeah.
But I wish I could have saw, you know, obviously original lineup of the Beatles, like that would have been wow, you know?
Yeah. You know, I forget who I was talking to about it, but talk about a tight band, like, you know, just the ability, watching that Let It Be documentary, the ability they had of just like, oh, we're writing Get Back now. Oh, okay. You know, like just seamlessly, like, oh, we're just going to walk through. She came in through the bathroom window just like this. Oh, okay. Got, you know, like just phenomenal.
Yeah. Just phenomenal. And if there's ever any doubt as to what a masterful timekeeper Ringo Starr was, not only timekeeper, but creative timekeeper, that documentary shows from one take to the other, solid. You take the show, you move it up to the roof. It's the first performance in how long? And why aren't the tempos increasing? Who the frick knows? It's the nervous system of Ringo Starr that is unflappable. Master.
Definitely.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
Thank you for the drummer little breakout there.
I love it. I love it. While you're there, Eric, who have you never seen live who you wish you would have?
Joni Mitchell.
Oh, wow.
Ooh, that's a good one too.
That is a good one. That is a really good one. Any particular era?
Oh, it would probably be the Court and Spark era, perhaps, you know, somewhere in there, maybe Hissing of Summer Lawns.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. I like it.
Maybe spacing out a little bit.
Yeah, I like it. Christian, how about you?
Yeah, I would probably have to just go with the Beatles too.
Yeah, it's a good answer.
Yeah.
It's a really good answer. One of my favorite answers we received so far was Dan Reid. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Philly DJs or all, but Dan Reid from WXPN said Thelonious Monk. In like a New York club. Yes. And I was like, oh, that just opens up so many other, like, you know, so many other things I wasn't even thinking of when I composed that question. But now, you know, I do wish I had a time machine and tickets to a lot of shows.
Yeah.
Number 7, name an unappreciated Jawn. Name something you wish had a little more shine to it. Christian, we'll start with you.
Oh man, you caught me again, dude. I don't know. Come back. I don't know.
All right, I'll come back.
Dang it.
Eric.
You know, my biggest unappreciated Jawn is Meg Hutchinson. So definitely that's the one I would have put. You know, our label, this, you know, with more time, I would have an additional answer, but our label mates on Star Trak, our High Speed Scene. And
I remember them.
That band live was so great. And Max Hart, the lead singer, who's been the music director for Katy Perry for many tours and is the keyboardist, is just one of the most wonderful spirits that I just have to give a shout out to Max and High Speed Scene and just his whole musical world.
That's awesome.
What up, Max?
Brent, you got one?
Mm-hmm. Gosh, you guys, what's the he changed is that guy Corey? Oh my God, I'm spacing. Remember he? God, I'm trying to figure out what he calls his band now. Oh man, I have to come back to that one. When you try to think about it, you can't get it. There's a few of them there though, but I just I don't know.
All right, no, it's cool.
I'd need a little more time. It'll come to me in a minute.
Christian, you got anything, or you? I love it.
You caught me off guard, man. I don't know.
No, it's good. It's good. Number 8, and Brent, if you think it, we'll come back to it.
I'll jump it in. Yeah.
Number 8, favorite album, Eric.
Oh my good goshness! I mean, I mentioned Court and Spark by Joni Mitchell. That one will just always be epic in my mind. But maybe Stevie Wonder, Inner Visions.
Oh, perfect answer, and a beautiful album. I'm a songs in the key of life guy myself, like that, because not just musically, but like it was like one of my mom's favorite albums growing up, and like
what
it just
crazy era. I mean, don't you have like Songs in the Key of Life, Inner Visions, Talking Book,
yeah.
Right,
Yep.
like, how does a person even do that?
It's seriously, and most of it by himself, it's unbelievable. Christian, favorite
Let
album?
It Be.
Yeah.
Let It Be.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, I'm glad that documentary is kind of bringing people's eyes back to that album, because it is like just a phenomenal kind of time capsule of just how perfect that band was. Mm-hmm. It's great. Brent?
Man, I think maybe Blood Sugar Sex Magic.
Woo!
Ooh, I like it.
I think that's just such unbelievable. I think Frusciante is like not only one of the greatest guitarists, but like also like his whole mental thing and his whole artistry. Like it's just, I think, out of this world. Like,
absolutely,
unbelievably true, and he's a very special musician. I feel
I have to jump in. One of my favorite memories of meeting and hanging with Brent back in the day was I went over to we were in music school, and or maybe it was just after, I don't even remember, man, it was so long ago, but Brent invited me over, and he had this VHS tape, and he's like, dude, you gotta check this out. Slipped that VHS tape in, and it was this like bootleg video of Red Hot Chili Peppers live in Japan. We were like climbing the walls, man. We were rolling around on the floor. We were just freaked out, man.
That's amazing.
It's insane. Yeah, live in Japan, like 1990 or something, or 91. It's online, and it's like, so it's right before they recorded Blood Sugar Sex Magic. They're into the tour. They were just on fucking fire. Their live show was just out of this world, dude. Insanely good.
We'll save for next time at Brent's discretion whether he talks about his one-on-one jam session with Flea sometime. That's another story. Not to do that story.
I'm intrigued.
I hear interview part 2 coming on.
And that was when Brent was in high school. So there you go.
Really?
No, I was in Minneapolis.
No. Or you were
just
out.
Just out.
All right. Number 9. Name an artist whose output you'll consume anything they put out, even if you have to be apologetic for the stuff they put out.
Can I answer that one?
Yes, absolutely. Christian, go ahead.
Right on the coattails of that Brent's answer for the last one, I have to go with the Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
Anything they do, I mean, yeah, man. They've been doing it for so long. It's pretty amazing what they've accomplished.
Absolutely. Eric, you got one?
And they're still, it's a band or an artist that's still.
No, they can be done. They can just someone who like at no point would you not listen to anything they had put out.
Right. There's just so many. I'm trying to be creative. I would say Beastie Boys.
Oh, perfect answer. Perfect answer. That they kind of changed my life with License to Ill. That and Run DMC Raising Hell, those two albums back to back, just completely. I was like, oh, this is a thing that like Run DMC first because I was like, oh my God, this music is incredible, and then the Beastie Boys second because it made me go, oh wait, maybe I can do this too. Like this.
Right. It's that sense of just like, you can do that.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh my God, I want to fight for my right to party. And,
I'd like to go to Brooklyn.
Exactly. Brent, how about yourself?
So I thought of one, and then I got another one, which, so I like Steely Dan. I feel like Donald Fagen, like whatever he puts out, like, I just like, I'll always listen to it. I always like it, like no matter what, like it's just always gets me somewhere. But you know what, who else too, though, is like, I'll be honest, like Pharrell stuff, man, like all the stuff, anything he does, like, I'm just like always amazed at, I play on a lot of it, of course, but like, it's still like, it amazes me, like how great of a musician and songwriter and I can't leave Chad out either. Like both of them, it's just like unbelievable. Like, cause I'm not playing on everything he does. Obviously there's tons and tons of stuff he does. It's just like everything he does, I feel like it's just like, it's crazy what he can go from, to like Hidden Figures records to like, even like some country stuff to, hard hip hop to stuff with crazy chords. And like, I don't know. I just think it's pretty genius.
One of my favorite things to do, I DJ, or at least I used to pre-pandemic. Now I just occasionally will do a wedding or something like that. But early on in a set, what I would love to do is I would just like let the entire night build just playing Neptunes and Pharrell tracks. Because you can start so slow and just kind of, and no one would ever recognize that all I was doing was essentially just playing one artist for an hour straight. And it's really incredible that the kind of eclecticness that he has been able to kind of put out.
And I mean, like, even like this, the last NERD record, like there's so much stuff on there, like take the song, like Lightning Fire Magic Prayer. Like if you listen to that song, like that's all Pharrell. That's just Pharrell. And like, that song is unfucking believable. Like, I mean, the composition, like, writing is just insane, like he just has, and that's not just one gem. He's got many gems like that throughout, and then I hear tons of stuff that, oh my God, the amount of stuff that he has that hasn't come out that is mind-boggling good. Like it's insane. He's got hundreds and hundreds of songs that haven't come out that are insanely good.
Incredible.
Really, really insane. Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. Okay, the 10th and final of the top 10 countdown. What is your favorite Jawn of all time? Again, doesn't have to be music, can be absolutely anything, but what is your favorite Jawn of all time, Eric?
Oh man. I mean, I think the thing that brought me to music, the thing that kept me in music, and the thing that led me to sort of leave music and collaboration the way that I have known it is, well, it's the intimacy of collaboration. And when the music industry, after Spymob, I started a music company and we're collaborating with corporations and production companies. And that was really rich until it just became like a fast food machine. And these days, and John Osby, lead singer of Spymob, made this move 10 years ago. And I'm a marriage and family therapist these days in part because to me, that feeling of collaboration in a close quarters with folks talking about real things in real life, that if there's one Jawn in my life, it's that sense of what happens when you get a few people in a room and you share real life and ideas and that grist. that, when people say you became a marriage and family therapist, that's so weird. You used to be a musician. I'm like, that's not weird at all.
No, when you say it like that, that does completely make sense. Like and that's beautiful because, it is like directing a piece of music almost and kind of
music of relationships is a very real thing. And in Spymob, I mean, less than half the time we were making music. Most of the time we were talking about life or talking about, the meaning of the music we were making or a feeling that we were having. Like it's all very related.
That's beautiful. Christian, favorite Jawn of all time.
The truth is, Eric was so traumatized by being in a band with Spymob that he had to go in the field of therapy.
I won't say that out loud, Twig. I'll let you say it. Couldn't have been further from the truth.
So I'm gonna keep mine musical, and I want to just I got to go back to when I was a teenager, and what really kind of got me into music originally was heavy metal. So I kind of started in heavy metal, and what really, really knocked my socks off, that really provided me with the juice, man, was Metallica's Master of Puppets. And just got to shout out Cliff Burton, rest in peace, because that dude was a freak in nature, man.
He was a beast, an absolute beast.
Yeah, man.
Fantastic. Brent, favorite Jawn of all time.
I got a second, like what Eric was saying too. Like I agree. Like I love that collaboration space, and I love that space of just talking. And I love philosophy stuff. Again, back to like, I'm kind of a nerd for like any of that stuff, especially like, I think like Krishnamurti, I think really like nails that stuff. It's really extremely deep and tough, but like I just love that stuff because I see the relationship of all of those, that kind of deep search for truth. I see how the relationship of that intertwines with music in such a, it parallels, I should say, music and what we're trying to find in music so much, like that search for truth. And I think when you find that, when what people find in music is that space, that extremely present space to be in, when thought kind of moves to the background and we become very connected with ourselves, and find our true selves, and I think music and philosophy and they just go hand in hand on that.
Absolutely. Talking about collaboration and talking about philosophy and stuff like that, the idea of, the vulnerability it takes to be able to create something with someone else is where magic comes from to me. And the
100%, the
harmony of voices and the harmony of emotion and intent, and sharing that, and not just sharing that between, collaborators, but also sharing that with the listener and, the listener taking that in and all. That's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Beautiful answers.
Well,
gentlemen.
We wouldn't be here today without Metallica. We wouldn't be here today without Spymob having fostered that kind of environment, and Jawn, who couldn't be here today, absolutely was essential component in all of us, having that kind of that space to create. And that just was sort of augmented with Pharrell and Shay and Chad and that collaboration. And so, yeah, it was a huge part.
That's beautiful. So is there a future for any more Spymob? Like, do you guys still play together at all? Do any shows occasionally, or? We
don't, but we have talked about linking. It's definitely something we all want to do. COVID, I think, has obviously we've been talking about a little bit more recently. Just who knows what it'll be, but I know we all we all have a deep connection, and a family love for each other. So it's definitely something that is not off the table for, at least for me, for sure. I would love to get together and play with these guys again. You know, I'm in LA, so
here's what I propose. Here's what I propose. It's 2039, New Year's Eve.
Yes.
Hold on. Listen to this. New Year's Eve, 2039. All right. And we just bust out at midnight.
At the International Lawn Bowling Championships.
Yes. We break out
Virtually.
2040 and just hit them with 2040. Live from the nursing home.
The nursing homes around the world.
That is beautiful. If anyone wants to find any stuff about you guys, what's the best way to track each of you down? Like any kind of what are you working on, or what should people check out? Other than the beautiful music you guys have created together as Spymob, available on streaming services right now. So I hope people go check that out.
Occasionally, you know, we do post on our Facebook page, very, very seldom when there is news. But if anyone, you know, has a question or wants to reach us, that's probably a good place to do it. Either that or our Instagram. And yes, of course, our music is very available on iTunes or your favorite streaming service.
It's beautiful. Guys, I can't thank you enough for doing this. It means a hell of a lot to me because, as I said, that album is in the Nate pantheon. It's definitely like a top 10 to me of all time music. It's just so perfect. It's literally just a perfect album. And every chance I can, I try to turn somebody onto it who has never, like, I'm like, oh, you've never heard? Oh, well, come here for a second. I got something for you. So, I appreciate you gentlemen, taking the time out of your lives to do this with me. And, if you have anything else you'd like to impart on these wise listeners who have followed us through this journey this far, what do you got to say?
I mean, if you've made it this far, thank you very much.
Yes,
yeah, man. Thanks for listening, Nathan. Thanks so much for having us on. It's been an honor.
Yeah, thanks, Nathan. Appreciate it, man.
There is a tight-knit, smallish group of folks around the world that have appreciated this record. I think we all look back on the making of Sitting Around Keeping Score and all of our records with a little bit of shit. How the fuck did we do that? But I think that's, again, where that magic of collaboration happens, and you change any one of these components and it just wouldn't have happened that way.
My many thanks to Eric, Brent, and Christian. You can find Spymob on Facebook at facebook.com/Spymob and streaming on all of the major streaming services. Like I said at the front of the interview, Sitting Around Keeping Score has been remastered and re-released with 3 tracks taken from the original sessions. And that album is just fucking brilliant. And I hope you do yourself a favor and check it out. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to subscribe to the Yo, That's My Jawn podcast wherever you get your podcasts from. And it's never too late to get yourself a super awesome Jawn Scout merit badge for citizenship of the world just by rating and reviewing us. Don't forget to visit www.yothat'smyjawn.com for links to all of the previous episodes of this podcast, articles, and merchandise. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/YoThat'sMyJawn for updates and live streams. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at YoThat'sMyJawn and search for Yo That's My Jawn on YouTube to find the Yo That's My Jawn YouTube channel. And of course, don't let me stop you from liking and subscribing the heck out of that ish. We want to hear from you. Reach out, and touch some Jawn. Man, what an episode. Life is good. The next time you hear from me, I will have flown in the Millennium Falcon. Blue skies. Until next time, everybody.
Hey yo, displace the guilt and embrace the pleasure. Your taste in music doesn't have to be measured.
Yo, That's My Jawn is a Lonely Monk production written and produced by yours truly, Nate Runkle. Theme song by Phil Tyler Music featuring Nate 3.0. Special thanks to Fox Run Brands, DX Ferris, Andrew Scott, Natalie Runkle, and the incredibly brilliant and wickedly stunning Katie Daubney. If you or anyone you know has any ideas they would like to share or any guests they would like to hear on the podcast, please feel free to reach out to us at yothat'smyjawn@gmail.com. Or you can leave an audio message for us and possibly hear yourself on a future episode by visiting anchor.fm/ytmj/message. Until next time, be sure to displace the guilt and embrace the pleasure and shout to the world, yo, that's my Jawn.